Welcome everybody. My name is Mike Martin, and I'm your host at GoTech. Just want to come on here and share a quick lab scenario. The lab scenario consists of a couple routers, a server, a switch, and a couple PCs. And what this lab scenario entails is network address translation. And if you're not familiar with network address translation is used to convert IPv4 private IP addresses to public IP addresses. So we're just going to show how that actually works in a lab scenario and show and demo and show you how actual IP addresses from your home or from your business actually make it out to the internet. So let's jump into that real quick. So first we're going to so we got two routers right here and they're like devices. So they're going to take a crossover cable. So we're going to take a crossover cable. I'm going to go to gigabit 0/0 and go to gigabit 0/0. Then we're going to take these like device these dislike devices and we're going to use a straight through. We're going to go with fast Ethernet 0/1 and we're going to go to gigabit 0/1. And we're also going to take this straight through and go to this server. We're going to do gigabit 0/1 to fast Ethernet 0. So we got that out the way. And then we're just going to connect these PCs like this. And I'm actually also going to set up DHCP, so we'll do that. And I already configured IP addresses on these routers. So I configured the IP address between these two routers, two public IP addresses. And then I also configured the IP address from this router to this server. So let's go ahead and bring up these interfaces. So I'll go to router 1, go to enable mode, then go to config T. And then what I'll do is go into interface gig 0/0, and I'll do a no shut. So that should bring up the interface right here. It hasn't come up yet because the link on the other end hasn't come up yet. So let's actually bring that link up real quick and then it should come up. So we'll go there. And that link is actually 0/02. So we'll go to interface gig 0/0. We'll do a no shut and see how that brought that link up. And then we can actually see what the actual IP address is. We can go to show IP interface brief, see what the actual IP address is. And for gig 0/0, the IP address is 203.10.10.2, and the other side is .1. So let's see if we can ping the other side. So we'll ping .1, so 203.10.10.1. See if we can ping the other side. Yep, and we can ping the other side. We got 4 out of 5. Okay, cool. All right, so now let's bring up the other interface facing the server. So we're in router 0 still. So we can see that because this one is actually shaded. So I haven't actually named the routers, but we can see it by the actual outline of the router. So we'll go to interface. First, we'll go to conf T, configuration mode. And then we'll go to interface, gig 0/1, and then we'll do a no shut. So that should bring up this interface. And remember, I showed you that interface actually has an IP address associated with it. So that interface IP address is 172.16.10.1. So we'll configure the server on the other end, and that's a 24-bit subnet mask. We'll configure the server on the other end. I'm just going to try and make this a quick lab demo. So we're going to put a static IP address on this server. And we put the static IP address. It should be 10. We're going to do .2 with a 24-bit subnet mask, which is 3255/.0. and then we're going to make the default gateway the router. So we're going to do 16.10.1. We're not even gonna worry about the, actually we'll put a default. We'll put a DNS server and then we'll use Google. Okay, so that should be configured. So I should be able to actually ping. I should be able to ping the router. So let's try to ping the router. So the router is actually .1. So let's try to ping .1. And sure enough, I have connectivity. So we have connectivity between these two routers and between the server and this router. Okay, cool. So now let's go ahead and set up this LAN IP address. So we're going to go to router 1. I'm going to put an IP address on, I believe we made that gig 0/1. So we'll go to gig 0/1. You can use the up and down arrows to actually get to gig 0/1. So we already went to gig 0/0. Let's go to gig 0/1. We're going to do a no shut. So we type no shut. That brought up the interface. And we're going to make that a 10 dot subnet. So let's do IP address 10.0.0.1.255/24. And let's actually, for these PCs, we're going to actually set up DHCP. So let's go ahead and set up DHCP. Okay. So we're going to go IP DHCP exclude. So we want to exclude the actual router IP address, so the router doesn't try to hand out its own IP address. So we're going to exclude the .1 IP address. And then we're going to set up a pool for the LAN. So IP DHCP pool. We're going to call it LAN. So that's the actual name for the pool. And then we're going to go into configuration mode for the DHCP. And we're going to put the network as a dot, a dot. We're going to put the network as a 10.0.0.0/24. Then we're going to put the default gateway as the router interface. So .1. And then we're going to put DNS server as 8. We're just going to just put this. Really actually doesn't mean anything. We're just going to put that in there just because. And that should be it. So we got the network, we got the default gateway. So actually now these PCs should be receiving IP addresses. So let's go into these PCs and see if we can get IP address. So we're going to go into PC1, go to the desktop, go to IP configuration, and then we're going to go to DHCP and turn that on, hit the radio button, and we should get IP addresses. So we got 10.0.0.2, so we got an IP address dynamically from DHCP. And let's go to PC0 and see what that does. So we should also get an IP address on this one. Boom. So we got IP addresses on the two PCs connecting up to the LAN. And then we got IP connectivity. We got IP addresses on this entire lab. So now let's go ahead and set up NAT. And we're going to demo how the actual LAN traffic. So this would be your home network or your local business or something like that, how that actual traffic travels from your PC or from whatever device you're using at the office or the house, whether it's your iPhone, your Android, things like that, and how it actually gets out to the internet, which would be actually something like this server or another router. So let's do that. So we're going to go into the router 1, and this would be the actual router that's at the location that you are. And then we're going to go into that, and we're going to, first, what we're going to do is we're going to set up an access control list. So we're going to set up an access control list, and this access control list is used to identify the traffic that is actually going to be natted out, that is actually going to be translated from the actual LAN portion of the network to the public portion of the network. So let's go ahead and set up access list. So we're going to do IP. So we're actually going to do access list. I'm actually going to use the extended access list. So access list 100. I'm going to put permit. And we're going to do IP. Let's do, we're actually going to do this network. So we're going to do, is that a wildcard? Let me make sure if that's not a wildcard. Okay, it is a wildcard. So we're going to do 0.0.0.255. So the wildcard is actually the inverted version of the actual subnet mask. So whatever number you see for the wildcard, just subtract 255 from it. So if you see 255, subtract 255 from 255 and you have 0. So if you have 252, subtract 252 from 250 from 255 and you have 3, just in simplest terms. So it's an inverted subnet mask. So we got 10.0.0.0 and we got the inverted subnet mask. And then we're actually going to do this is the source destination, by the way. So that's the source, what is actually being translated. So the first numbers in the actual access control list are the numbers that are being translated. So the source IP addresses that are being translated is the 10.subnet. And what are we translating them to? And we're going to say that the actual ones that are being translated to is, we're just going to say, we'll say destination is any. So whatever the destination it is out on the internet, we can translate it to anything. So we'll do destination any. I believe it's any. Okay, and we can create it. Okay, cool. So we got that. I actually could have did a standard IP address, a standard access list since I did it that way, but it's all good. Okay, so we got the access control list. So now we're going to go ahead and for the interface, we have interface gig 0/1, which is this actual interface right here. We're going to put a NAT translation for the inside of that actual interface. And then we're going to put an actual NAT translation for the outside of the interface. So let's do that. So we're in gig 0/1. So we're going to go do IP NAT inside. Okay. And then we're going to go to 0/0. We're going to do IP NAT outside. Okay, cool. So we're done with that. And now we just want to tie all these things together with this actual NAT translation statement. So we're gonna do IP NAT. And I've been working on Juniper lately, so forgive me if my syntax is off, but just trying to figure out how to put this together. So IP NAT, I'm gonna do outside source. I'm gonna do list 100. So we're gonna put the actual, this is the actual access control list. So we're gonna do list 100. Then we're gonna do pool. Nope, you know what? Actually, you want to do this actually the other way. We want to do IPNet inside source list 100. And then we want to do interface and we want to put it on the outside interface, which is gigabit 0/0. Gigabit 0/0. And then we want to do an overload statement, which is actually going to make it where you can use the same IP address for multiple devices. And once we do that, we should be all set. So what I want to do now is I want to put a debug statement on this on this router. And when I put a debug statement on this router, it's going to actually show us the the NAT translation is happening. So let's do a debug IP ICMP, and then we're going to ping that router. So let's ping that router. And we actually wouldn't even have connectivity to this router if we didn't have NAT set up. But because we have NAT set up, we have actual connectivity to the router. So we're going to do ping. This is .2. So we're going to do 203.10.10.2. And if we have connectivity, we actually know right off the rip that that NAT is actually set up correctly. So let's see. Okay, so we got replies from it. Okay, so we should be getting, okay, cool. So let's actually do this a little bit different. Let's actually set up an extended ping. So we'll do an extended ping. And then we'll go into the router. Okay. So what we actually see here is the source IP address is actually the source IP address that's being pinged is actually .2. So the 10.10.2, that's what's being pinged, and the destination of that packet is going back to .1, which is the interface that is doing the translation. So instead of the packet going back to the actual PC that has a 10 IP address, it's actually going back to the interface on the router, which is 10.1, which is 203.10.10.1. So if it was going back to the PC, the actual address, the destination address would be 10.0.0. Either 2 or .3. So I don't know if you get that, but hopefully you understand that. Okay, so let's break out of this. Okay, cool. All right. So we did DHCP, we set up NAT, and I mean, yeah, that was pretty much the couple quick things that I wanted to go over. Um, these are just my tips and tutorials for those looking to get into network engineering or, you know, IT tech support, anything that has anything to do with routing and switching. These are some basics to help you kind of, you know, along your journey. Once again, my name is Mike Martin. I'm with GoTech, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.